How's it going, guys? Val here. I'm just wanted to cover something that I haven't seen a whole lot of content creators talk about, which is Zam's Omicron. Now, my initial look at it was like, oh, this is going to be pretty sweet. Obviously, Qui-Gon Jinn's looks fabulous. People have been pretty excited about Phasma and et cetera, right? Like, they're pretty cool that they're adding these new abilities. But I love bounty hunters. So I spent a lot of time digging into the potential of her Omicron. And I found some pretty crazy stuff. Obviously, I can't test it yet. Grand Arena's not around. But I've been testing sort of based off of her Zeta and sort of how that will apply or extrapolate out to a higher bonus, and also with sharing it, some of that bonus to her team. So if you don't know what Zam's Omicron does, while in Grand Arena, Zam instead gains 60% instead of 20. 60% increases to her offense for each scoundrel attacker, 60% max health for each scoundrel support, 60% max protection for each scoundrel tank, and 5% speed for each other bounty hunter ally. Now, this is where there's been some debate, and I'll cover it in a sec, but bounty hunter allies gain 20% of Zam's current offense, max protection, max health, speed until the first time she is defeated. Now, the point of controversy here is the shared stats does not say all other bounty hunters. It just says bounty hunters. There's been some discussion whether or not Zam will actually basically double up on her bonuses. She's going to get the 60% where it's relevant for all of those stats, share 20%. Well, people think she's going to share 20% back to herself again. So I'm going to go, most of my calculations are done with her not sort of sharing to herself, but I've actually included it in here in some cases just to see how stupid it could potentially be if that is the case. So I've got my Zam's stats up on the screen here. So her HP, 7,984, protection, 45,890, potency, 77%, offense, 8,305, speed, 335, which is 152 speed from her mods. All right. A lot of this I did with the Boba Fett lead for calculations. He's kind of gone unused for quite some time, but I feel like he could become quite relevant for Grand Arena. And the reason behind that, I think, is he grants 15 speed, flat speed, for each debuffed enemy, and bounty hunter allies gain max health equal to 50% of the total potency of all bounty hunters. As well as gaining 15% turn meter whenever a thermal detonator explodes. And obviously Zam, she's kind of the queen of detonators. So let's kind of break it down because it gets pretty interesting. So we'll start with speed. My Zam currently has 335 speed. I could get her up to 360, which is just effing obnoxious, but it would potentially extrapolate into just an absurd amount of speed. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to go with 335 mod set that I have on her. So 335 base speed times 1.2, which is her Omicron bonus, aka 5% per bounty hunter ally, gives us 20%. So her new base speed is 402. Now 402 is pretty significant. There's not a whole lot of stuff that can outrun that. You can get maybe like a God mode Rex, Han, obviously he shot first, Watt, which may or may not help you with the weapon stack granting turn meter. And then obviously you got GLs and stuff, right? So I feel like there's not going to be a lot of outrunning Zam options. At least not any like trash options. You're going to have to spend some potentially big teams to take her down, in my opinion. So a new base speed of 402. Now, if she does take the first turn and she manages to stick some thermals, this is going to grant potentially up to 75 flat speed to her and the other bounty hunters on the team. 15 speed per debuffed enemy with Boba's lead, right? So worst case scenario, worst case scenario, she applies 0. Maybe your Zam has no potency, or let's say the other player brought in Grandmaster Yoda lead, right? Tenacity up at the start. So obviously stuff like that's going to slow this down a little bit. But there's ways around that. Dangar's AoE is a huge pain in the... Dangar's just a pain in the ass in general, but you're going to see how stupid it gets later on in some of these calculations. So I kind of broke down two scenarios here, right? So, the other thing to note, her throwing detonators, which is actually called See What Sticks, ironically enough, grants her speed up for 2 turns, right? So speed up, if you don't know, 25% bonus speed for 2 turns. That's decent. Zam's also going to be so obnoxiously fast that she's going to be constantly getting this bonus. It's just, it's so friggin' obnoxious, and I love it so much. So let's look at these situations here, right? So starting base speed after Omicron, 402, right? Best case scenario, she sticks 5 detonators. That would put her at 596 speed, right? So 402 plus 75, 15% per debuffed, or 15 flat speed per debuffed enemy equals 477. And then you get speed up on top, so times 1.25, so 596. That's kind of stupid. 596 is a lot of speed. Not to mention her popping detonators is going to give her 15% turn meter, right? And then if you have someone like Mando, who grants, I think it's 30% TM on crit, but 15% for other allies, something like that, right? So you could potentially make this team super fast. Greedo as well. If he has applied detonators and you pop them, he gets turn meter, she gets turn meter. Like, it's just going to be a turn meter train with so many thermal detonators on the field. Anyways, so back on topic here. Best case scenario, 596. Worst case scenario, she lands no detonators, aka no debuffs. She still gets speed up, so that puts her at 502 speed. Still very significant, right? Like, that's a lot. So now we know, sort of regardless, right? After the first turn, she's going to be stupid fast for at least 2 turns, because I highly doubt anyone's actually going to outspeed the other bounty hunters, which you'll see shortly here. So other bounty hunter speeds, Zam gains 5% speed for each bounty hunter ally, yada yada. She shares 20% of her current speed back out to everyone else. I'm assuming that this can't be manipulated further in terms of this bonus, but they're going to get other speed, or speed from other stuff anyways, right? So her shared speed, so 335 is her base. We multiply that by 1.2, which we did, so her new speed is 402, and then she shares 20% of that out. So 20% of 402 is 80.4 flat speed for all bounty hunters. Now, this is where, again, controversial stuff. If or if not, what if, this is going to be stupid. If Zam does apply this back to herself, she first gets the Omicron bonus that knocks her up to 402, and then if she shares it back to herself, she gets another 80.4. So she's going to be at 482.4 base speed for the rest of the battle, right? Like, and that's not even calculating speed up on top, which we'll see in a minute. It just gets ridiculous. So you can see how fast that Boba lead with the Zam may potentially make your team. So you get that 80.4 off the bat, boom, everyone's 80 speed faster. If Zam ends up doing good work, sticking 5 detonators, aka 5 debuffs, that's an additional 75 flat speed to everyone. So turn 1 potentially plus 155 speed for the rest of your team, or your entire team. And obviously depending on your mods and stuff, this is going to change, but I kind of broke it down. This chart sort of shows my bonuses and the speeds of all my bounty hunters as they are right now. So the left column, base speed pre-Omicron, so this is before Zam's bonus. Boba 299, Zam 335, Dengar 250, Greedo 278, etc., etc. You can see Boba and Dengar have 2 numbers. The second number, so on the right in the bracket, is actually their speed after a fulfilled contract, because Boba and Dengar both gain bonus speed from their contract being fulfilled. Boba gets 50 flat speed, Dengar gets 25% speed. So that's actually pretty significant. You're going to see here in a sec why that's significant. But and this, again, is under the assumption of a Boba lead. You could use a Bosk lead and get a 50 flat speed from fulfilling your contract. So it doesn't have as high a potential as a Boba lead, which is 75. But Bosk obviously does make your team quite durable. You get mass assists, you get way more healing, all that kind of stuff. And then Django lead is another option as well. You get 30 speed just from his leadership, so you don't even need your contract fulfilled. And then if you do, you get offense, which you're going to see later on. The offense gets absolutely stupid too. So, okay, back to our chart here. So base speed's on the left. Center column, with Omicron, 0 debuffs landed, right? So we're assuming turn 0, nothing's happened yet. So you can see Boba, 379, Zam, 402, Dengar, 330, etc., etc. Far right side here. This is Omicron bonus plus the potentially 5 debuffed enemies, right? This is where it starts to get kind of obnoxious. 504 speed Boba if your contract's been fulfilled already. 477 Zam. Dengar's at 405, but again, with a contract, 506 speed Dengar. Like, that's so dumb. Dengar's a turtle normally. Like, he's slow and he just hides in stealth and he snipes your banners and he's a piece of garbage. But I love him. I absolutely love Dengar. And if you look at these characters, right? Boba, AoE debuffs. Zam, AoE debuffs. Dengar, AoE debuffs. Greedo, AoE debuffs. Bosk is just Bosk, right? I mean, the potential to land debuffs is so high that you're going to end up with these numbers more often than not, I think. And because of how fast you are, I mean, I feel like some of these matches are going to be over very, very fast. So now let's get into the stupid stuff, right? So this yellow here. If we make the assumption that Zam applies this bonus back to herself, we get some stupid numbers. So if Zam applies her 80.4 shared speed back to herself, she would end up with 482 base speed, 557 speed with 5 debuffed enemies, and then you put speed up on top of that, her speeds would become 602 with no debuffed enemies, and 696 with 5 debuffed enemies. A 700 speed Zam Wessel, okay? Yes, it's for 2 turns, but she's gonna take those 2 turns so fast that her cooldown for her thermal detonator is going to be off, and then she's going to get speed up again. Like, she's going to be Speedy Gonzalez. You're not going to catch her, and then she's going to get turn meter from detonators, right? So the turn order is basically going to be Zam, and then you can see my Bosk is at 466, right? He's going to go mass assist. She's going to pop a detonator, and then she's just going to pop all the detonators and reapply them and gain speed up again, right? Obviously, that's theoretical. There could be a taunt, there could be this, there could be that. But that's where your team composition is going to come into play, right? Calling or using Mandalorian to call an assist to pop a detonator that you can't reach. Clearing clearing taunt or buffs with Greedo. Getting a stun. You know, that's where the real fun comes in, right? So that stuff we're not really going to talk about right now. But yeah, this is this is just stupid, right? If this works out this way and she gets 700 speed, that it's going to be the most annoying team to go up against if it's on defense. I think you're going to have to basically throw a GL at it, right? Or something that can deal with all the debuffs and that kind of speed. I've been ranting. Let's continue. Health and protection, right? Boba's lead grants max health equal to 50% of the total potency of all your bounty hunters. So half of all their total potencies combined. So if we go down to the bottom one here, I'm going to use this example because it has 2 supports, which Zam will take advantage of as well. Total potency of bounty hunter lineup, Boba, Zam, Cad, Grieve, Bosk, has 347 percent potency. Half of that's 174. So pretty significant, right? 174% bonus max health is a lot. And this is where I kind of had to do quite a bit of testing, even with just with Zam's Zeta, to see how this was being calculated. Before this, I like theory crafting, but I never really dug into all the formulas and order of operations, stuff like that. So my initial impressions, I was actually proven wrong. It wasn't calculated the way I thought initially. So the way it is calculated is her Omicron is calculated first. So it takes 20% of her max health or 60% of her max health per support, sort of calculates that out separately and then slaps it on top of her max health once Boba's lead is applied. If Boba's not there, then obviously it's just her base health times 1.2 or 1.6 for Zeta and Omicron per support. So her base health with the Boba lead is 77,984 times 2.4 or 2.74, aka 174% bonus. Yes, I tested this. 213,676. But that's a lot of health for Zam. So not only is she fast as hell, she's going to be thick as hell. And that's also with no supports. So let's see what happens with the supports, right? So with one support, 60% health bonus. She's at 260,466. And then 2 supports, she's got 120% bonus. That's 307,256. Now, she shares 20% of that, right? So let's see what that does. And it gets kind of silly. So if she's got no supports on her team and she's sharing 20% of her base max health with a boba lead, 213,676 times 0.2, she's sharing 42,735. With one support, 52,093, two supports, 61,451. That's pretty thick, right? That's a lot of free health, essentially. Now, if she does actually give herself that bonus on top of already getting 60% or 120%, it looks like this, right? If Zam reapplies her shared stats back to herself, her new max HP would become, with no supports, 256,411 under a Boba Fett lead, 312,000 Boba Fett lead, one support, and 368,797 with a Boba Fett lead and two supports. That is thickness, almost 400k health. And that doesn't even take into account her armor and stuff like that, right? So her effective max health with her armor and defenses and stuff on top would be higher than 368 because she's mitigating damage. Protection bonus is kind of laughable, but that's because my Zam is not modded for protection. Another thing to note too is you get 60% or 20% for the Zeta, but 60% for the Omicron, 60% max health, max protection, blah, 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 for each scoundrel. So it doesn't have to be bounty hunters, but bounty hunters are going to take way more advantage of this because other scoundrel allies are not going to get the stats shared back to them, right? So yeah, this protection is pretty laughable. She would grant 14,684 protection if I had Bosk on the team, which, whatever, she grants 60,000 health, so it's not really a big deal. Now here's a little chart with all these kind of separate calculations done, just so you can see how it ramps up, right? So if we look at the left side here, characters base HP and protection. So Boba Fett has 55,290 health. Once he applies his leadership to himself, 151,494. If there's one support plus Zam's Omicron bonus, 203,000. Two support plus Omicron bonus, 212,000. That's pretty thick. Like, Zam's going to be thick, but everyone else is going to be up there too. Especially when you take characters like Bosk, right? Again, my Bosk is modded for protection and not health. Which, I mean, maybe I mod him for health now, I don't know. But regardless, he's going to have 252,707 health and then 131,000 protection on top. Like, Bosk is already annoying, but having a 500,000 health Bosk, basically, especially with his armor and stuff like that, like, I think my Bosk is 70% physical defense or physical armor. So if that's 70% damage mitigation and you've got 400,000 health, you've got basically 700,000 health if you're tying it to physical damage, right? It's pretty silly. So if you want to look at all these numbers, you can look at it here. Just maybe pause the video. I'm going to continue on. Now, offense time. This could get kind of silly. Especially if she counts herself as an attacker, which again is sort of up for debate, and especially if she shares her stats back to herself, again, up for debate. But the green numbers here are should be basically concrete, right? Like, this is like the most straightforward version of this calculation you can do. So she gains 60% increases to her offense for each attacker. Now, in this sort of example lineup, Boba, Zam, Dengar, Greedo, Bosk, that's 4 attackers. If she doesn't count herself, that's 3. That gives her 180% bonus. So let's run that breakdown first, and then we'll do the what if scenario after. So we're going to look sort of for the green numbers here. So if Zam's base offense is 8,305, we multiply that by 2.8, which is 180% bonus. She's going to be at 23,254 physical offense. That's pretty decent. Like, I know her ability modifiers for damage are not that high, but I mean, 23,000 is not something to scoff at, right? Now, if we take that 23,254 and we take 20% of that, which she's going to be sharing with her bounty hunter allies, we get 4,650 offense. So she's going to grant everyone on the team, possibly including herself, that 20% offense, right? Now let's what if this scenario. What if Zam counts herself as an attacker? That's 4 attackers. That's 240% bonus offense. And what if she gives herself that bonus on top of that 230%? So this is what it's going to look like, right? It gets dumb, guys. Are you ready? Zam's new base offense, if she counts herself and shares the bonus back to herself, becomes 8,305 by times 3.4, which is a 240% bonus. That gives her 28,237 offense. And then she shares that 20% of that. So 20% of 28,237 is 5,647. But if she shares it to herself, we're slapping it back on top of 28,237. Gives her a new offense up to 33,884. That's a lot of damage. Now, if you look at Omicrons for Qui-Gon Jinn, for example, obviously he's kind of on par, right? He's given his Jedis some big boy damage. But for Zam, who's not really like a physical damage dealer, she kind of relies on her detonators, that's a lot of damage, right? And then she's sharing it. So if she does count herself and she shares it, that's 5,647 offense that she's sharing. And let's see what that does to my team, right? So these are some of my bounty hunters with their current offense. And then what's going to happen whether she counts herself or not here. So the green is if she does not count herself, and the numbers in the yellow are if she does count herself. So Boba goes from 9,500 to 14,000. Zam, hers is calculated a little differently. She's going to go up to 23,000. Dengar from 6,300 to 10,000, or well, 11,000 basically. And then you'll see Dengar has two numbers, similar to his speed actually. Dengar gains 25% bonus offense as well if there's a completed, or if the contract's been completed. So that takes him from 6,300 to 13,700. Greedo jumps up from 55 to 10, and Bosk from 55 to 10 as well. And then the yellow numbers is kind of the what if, right? So a 15,000 physical offense Boba Fett, like that's going to be some thick executes, especially if you have debuffs on the field, especially if they're buffed. So if you've got a buffed and debuffed enemies, Boba is literally going to be executing people. 33,000 offense Zam, like we talked about. Dengar even getting up to 15k with the contract active. And then Greedo kind of just tickles people and throws bombs at them. So I feel like Greedo's more of a support role in this. More detonators, stun, turn meter removal, buff removal. Yeah, and then Bosk, who's just the thickness, right? So yeah, guys, this is what I've been doing for the last couple days. I love doing this. This has been so fun. I've talked to quite a few people about it now. I'm very, very, very excited for Grand Arena so I can finally test this out. I hope this was informative. I hope it helped some of you guys maybe make a decision on who your first Omicron might be. Best of luck in Grand Arena, and I'll catch you guys later. Take it easy. Bye.